Hi, I'm Vera, the Cancer Goddess. I'm a 4-time cancer survivor: breast cancer, brain tumor, brain cancer, thyroid cancer. And this is my online digital memoir. Thank you for listening. This recording is all about my journey through food addiction and cancer recovery. I've been in a 12-step program for food addiction for about 21 years. And if you want to see the video recording, there's also an ability to see that on my Substack. So thank you. All right, tonight is just me. Karina's not here. She'll be here the following weeks. But I wanted to follow up about my journey in recovery as a food addict, because this was a special request by a friend of mine in recovery who said, you know, there's all these cancer people out there and they're eating sugar and they're eating flour and processed foods, and they don't have the idea of that connection between cancer and the food that they eat. And so I've been doing what I'm doing for 20 years, and it's 100%. It's 100% the reason why. Sorry. Hold on. Let me just mute her. It's 100% the reason why I'm still alive. I mean, there's many reasons I'm still alive, but that's one of the main reasons, because my body has been starved of sugar, processed sugar, for 20 years. So when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, brain tumor, brain cancer, thyroid cancer, my body could just like fight back really powerfully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what food addiction is, and then what I do every day, so you can take bits and pieces from my journey. And you don't have to join a 12-step program for food addiction if you are okay with flour, sugar. But if you cannot control it and you need help, there is free help. I mean, that's what a 12-step program is. I'm not going to tell you the name of the program because I want to protect anonymity, but you can always message me directly and ask me, what's your program's name? Because there's meetings, there's support, there's someone who can like talk to you every morning about what you're going to eat. Because honestly, it's not our fault, guys. You know, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, these are the greatest drug dealers in the world. You know, the sugar, the caffeine, the flour, it just keeps going. And you know what? Cancer feeds on that. So if you want to starve the cancer, you'll starve the sugar. You'll starve all that processed stuff. So let me go through my journey. I'm a visual learner, and maybe some of you are too. But I'm also going to be recording this as a podcast. So I'm not going to say too much about the photos, but you're going to see some of the photos. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, then I suggest you see the visuals as well. All right, here we go. So cancer and food addiction, why does it matter? Why does eating matter when you have cancer? What you eat matter. All right. So I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. And I'm going to be sharing about that in my next podcast, about the trauma I had. And everybody has, I'm sure I'm not unique, guys. I'm not unique. I'm sure you've got your own journey too. But for me, it was hard. You know, my father worked all the time, and my mother was overprotective and worried a lot about us. And there was a lot of fighting in the home. And I don't believe I was born with this desire to eat all the time. I think it kind of evolved based on my own trauma of being in the situation where parents were fighting all the time, that I started to use food as a way to escape. So I'm going to go through that, about how that evolved, because in order to understand our desires about eating and how we're eating, we need to go back to where it started. And so, yeah, I was a very active, hyperactive, actually, kid, you know, just always running around, always doing dance or, you know, with hanging out with my sister, you know, gymnastics or whatever. I mean, I never did formal gymnastics like my daughter, but, you know, just jumping around and doing somersaults. So very active. Food was not important to me. You know, food was really not. And you can see here, look at me. I'm thin. I'm like a normal girl. I always looked at this and then, you know, I felt like the cat's meow when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. And and the cat's meow. I mean, like I looked like all the other girls in some ways, and I didn't feel different. Um, that started coming later. That started coming when I started eating my feelings, and I started eating my feelings pretty young because of the environment I was around. I grew up in a wealthy area, but we were not super wealthy. So I would compare myself to the other people who were wealthy. And I started just eating without as a way to escape the feelings of inadequate. Can you whoever that is, can you Marilyn? Yeah, okay. Let me just mute her. Sorry. Some people don't know sometimes. And so I would escape, and it was usually fast food restaurants. It was usually like Wendy's or Burger King, and this is not holistic health here, but at the same time, we would also go to high-end restaurants. I remember it was called Unicorn Village. There was a place called Unicorn Village, and they served like all the macrobiotic stuff, and I love that too. You know, it didn't really matter. It just food became a thing. It wasn't a thing until it became a thing. I mean, I'm sure all of you can identify with that. It wasn't a thing until it was a thing, and so when it became a thing, it was a big thing, and I fueled myself on that. You know, I fueled myself in that, and you know, you can see here, I started to gain weight. I started to get chubby, and then I started to get made fun of. So that was hard. That was hard because in a sense, I wasn't the biggest kid in the class, but yet I had the least self-esteem. And I think being chubby with a lack of self-esteem was a recipe for just bullying. Bullying. And I know a lot of kids get bullying. I'm not saying I'm super unique or anything, but it was constant. It was constant for me. And my lack of self-worth, you know, I didn't like myself. My name was weird. My hair was not, it wasn't like the other girls. The other girls had like straight hair and little outfits. And I looked like I was thrown together, you know? And here, you know, at this point, I struggled with acceptance, basically acceptance of myself. And so I just hid. I hid behind my sister. I hid behind other people because I just did not have self-esteem. I just did not have the self-esteem. And I grew up in Miami, and Miami is a place where it's all about your body, you know, what you look like. And I did not want to be seen. I did not want to be seen. And I remember, you know, being on the beach and wearing t-shirts to hide my body. And I was ashamed of what I looked like. So I just didn't want anybody to see me. So most of my childhood at the beach, I was wearing big t-shirts. And also, I started wearing something called girdles. I don't know if you know what girdles are. They're like, they take your body and they just smush it in. It's kind of like the early spandex, not spandex, but the what the women wear. Oh my gosh. Basically to just Keep what? Say that again.
Spanx.
Spanx.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Spanx. That's what I'm saying. I wore like an early Spanx because my family was wearing Spanx. My sister was wearing Spanx. My mom was wearing Spanx. We were a Spanx family, or not. It wasn't Spanx. It was a girdle. And I was only 11 wearing a girdle. I mean, it's crazy. And then my mom started going to Weight Watchers. And so I started going to Weight Watchers with my mom because I was, again, a chubby girl and I wanted to lose some weight. So I felt normal again. And I started going to the meetings and the psychology, I mean, of an 11-year-old girl going to Weight Watchers. It just makes me very sad. It makes me very sad now. But at the time, that's what I was doing. And I was counting calories. And I don't know if you know anything about Weight Watchers. It's all about shading these little boxes based on this fruit and this bread. And, you know, it was just made me crazy in a way. And then I'd be in a line at school, you know, waiting to go to eat. And I would just load up on whatever that cafeteria food was. And then afterwards I would go with my sister and we would go around different places and go get food at different like bodegas and restaurants. And so my life was really revolved around escapism and eating until I figured out dieting. Until I figured out dieting. And here are some of my best friends from middle school, Wendy, Alfreda, and Alicia. And I became popular because I switched schools. So I went to a school that was for the arts and for theater. And I was no longer in that elementary school where I got made fun of all the time. And they didn't know that I had been chubby, but I figured out how to lose weight. And that was restricting and also exercising. So I exercised before school. I was like 13 years old, going to the gym, 12, 13, going to the gym. And I started eating like a stalk of vegetable every night because Alfreda was so thin and I wanted to be just like Alfreda. And so I ate like a stalk of celery every night. I would eat a stalk of celery every night. And if I didn't eat that stalk of celery, it was like, oh no, I'm going to get fat. I started getting crazy, crazy. And you can see here, I took the t-shirt off and I have a proper top. I would never show the bottom of my bikini. No. Just the top is okay. And when I was how old I was 14 years old, and I could not deal with the trauma of my family anymore. And my sister ended up moving to New York City to attend a film school called NYU. And so I said I was going to come for the summer to see my sister and hang out with my sister. And I ended up staying there in New York. And that's really when other addictions took off. So not just food addictions, because I already had the basis of food addiction, even though I was thin now and popular and the boys liked me and I had a beeper and I wore those short shorts, like those little short shorts, and I'd walk around the mall and they'd be like, hey girl. And I'd be like, okay, hey. So, I mean, I felt good. But I still had this monkey on my back. Like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to be that fat girl again that that I got bullied and I didn't want to ever go back there. So when I moved to New York City, the thing is, I didn't have my gym anymore. I didn't have the structure. It was cold. So I started smoking cigarettes to help abate the desire to eat. And this is when I had first moved. I think I was 14 and there I am, like, I think I brought food out to go sit on the porch of my sister's building. And I wore all black. I wore black all the time. And I always showed off my legs because I had skinny legs. So it was like, wear all black, conceal the top, and show off my skinny legs. And I got that from my family. I got that from my family, because they were all overweight. you know? So I remember a time when we were at the library and this kid, Heath Weisbrod, you know, you can remember these kids. And he took out a book. Okay, maybe it wasn't him. Heath, I'm sorry if this wasn't you. But this whatever boy it was said, "Oh, there's Vera's family," and there was a book about cows, and I can't tell you how mortifying that was. You know, I still remember it like it was yesterday. That's the power of these moments that you will not forget. And then I started to gain weight. You know, I started to gain weight, and that freaked me out. That freaked me out. And I started doing drugs and smoking, and addiction just went woohoo, you know. It was, it was, and I had big jobs, and I had really big jobs. And this was when I was 17. I managed a day spa, It was very high pressure in the sense that I was way over my head for the kind of work that I had to do. So it just fed my addiction, and I started doing bulimia when I was 16 years old. So this is a year after I started bulimia. And bulimia, I can't tell you how awful it is. And I'm so grateful I'm still alive. And my best friend was a model, in a sense that she would get stopped all the time and asked, you know, to be in magazines or, you know, photographs. And I can't tell you how hard that was for me a lot of the times, because here I am bulimic and wanting to be so thin, and she is naturally, and she really had no food issues. And so I would compare myself to her, and the magazines, like these, that's why I'm like, I have my own daughter, and I don't want her to get exposed to like what I was exposed to, because it really robbed me of my soul. And bulimia just robbed me of my joy. I mean, you guys all know me at this point in my goddess community, and you know that I'm full of love and light and joy. And it was just sucked out of me. And you can see that right now, the anger, you know, the get the hell away from me. I don't want to know you. I just want to be with my food and, you know, get rid of it, or do drugs, or, you know, hang out with bands, or whatever nefarious things I was doing, you know, just trying to find my own identity. And yeah, I mean, I lived a really crazy life when I was 17. I was living with, you know, she's a writer, and we were living with my sister in Brooklyn, and I lived in the living room, and it was just not a normal childhood. So, I mean, these are all the things that led to where I'm going to go now, because you're like, why is she talking about this? Well, I'm just trying to lead up to where I am now. Okay. Okay. And this is sort of the end of the road here. College, just trying to always find the party. But then, you know, showing the weight, you can start to see like it's coming on. And I was bulimic. So I was a chunky bulimic, and that is no bueno for a bulimic. And then things changed. Okay. I moved to Boston, and I hit like a real bottom. I hit a real bottom. I was living with this boyfriend, and we weren't really connecting, and I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do with my life. And so I ended up working at a documentary film company, and the owner of the documentary film company was thin, but on the picture on the wall, he was heavy. And I was like, whoa, 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 what's happened here? And then one night I went to go ask him. I was an intern. I was looking for a job too. So I went up to him and I said, you told me how, you know, your secretary said that you had lost weight, and then you joined some sort of program. And then he's like, okay, yeah, let me tell you. And he's like, it's for food addiction. And I had never heard that terminology before. I'd never heard that terminology, food addiction. And I wanted a job. He asked me if I wanted to come to a meeting, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll come to a meeting. And that was 21 years ago. 21 years ago, friends, goddesses, goddess friends. And I'm telling you, it changed my life. It's why I'm still here talking to you. It's why I'm still alive. And that's why I'm here to talk to you tonight about what I did. So take what you want, leave the rest, but learn from my experience. So the basic tenets of the 12-step program for food addiction is no processed flour or sugar. No processed flour or sugar. I weigh and measure my meals. I don't eat in between meals. I eat 3 meals a day. I do a half hour of quiet time daily. I have a sponsor and I go to meetings. There's other tools like the telephone and writing. And this is all to help. It was all to help me. And I still do it. I still do this every day. I went to a meeting today. I weigh and measure my food. I don't eat flour and sugar. I still do this. But this is all to help. This was all to help me get off of the flour sugar because it's so addictive. And if you can do it on your own, God bless. And I have a friend who started Bright Line Eating. If you haven't heard of it, Bright Line Eating. And that is not a 12-step program. It's what we do in my 12-step program, but it's more commercialized. So this is an example, like what are the types of food that I would eat or I still eat? And it's very basic. It's very basic. It's vegetables. It's whole grains. It's proteins. It's not complicated. It's fruit. It's salads. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, you got to eat this, not eat that, you got to eat this. This is very simple, and it gets you off of the sugar, and it gets you off of the processed flour. And if you have weight on your body, you just eliminate the grain. That's all. And then you stick with the vegetables and the protein and the salad. And generally, the ounces are very simple too. It's 4 ounces for protein, 6 ounces for vegetable, 6 ounces for salad, 1 tablespoon of oil. That would be a typical lunch or dinner. And breakfast would be 8 ounces of milk or yogurt, 1 ounce of grain, 6 ounces of fruit. And that's it. It's simple. Breakfast between usually 6 and 8 a.m., lunch between 12 and 2, and dinner between 5 to 7 or 6 to 8. And that's it. That's it. And you don't snack. And you don't snack in between meals because you're not allowing your body to rest and digest. If you're constantly snacking, you're not allowing your body to rest and digest. And that is the key. It's the key to health, is allowing your body to just stop eating. That's the whole thing with intermittent fasting. It's the whole thing with fasting as well. And I am doing intermittent fasting every day. So you need to have that discipline, and having that scale is so freeing because then you don't have to think about what you're eating. It's really a miracle. That scale has saved my life. And here's me. I'm just so grateful. I was able to have 2 pregnancies and lose the weight. I mean, I didn't even really gain much weight. It was just baby, but I lost that baby weight like no problem. Any little weight I had, I just lost it. And you guys know where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from being this like skinny little happy person. I was a miserable food addict, So this, this is such a gift, that my kids have never known me not in recovery, I've never shared a glass of wine or dessert with my husband. And you know what? I don't care. I don't go to social events and go, hang out at the buffet table. I'm there talking to people. My life is dramatically different. And so when I was diagnosed with cancer, I just kept doing this. I just kept doing the same thing I was doing now. There's no special nutrition. I was just eating no flour, no sugar, mostly, vegetables, protein, salad, fruit, and I mean, I ate more dairy then than I do now because I do more Ayurvedic eating, which is still very much aligned with what we do. I don't eat raw at this point because apparently in Ayurveda, it's when you eat raw, it takes a lot more digestion power for your body. And so when you're eating things that are cooked, then it's less manpower for your body, and your body can focus on other things like repairing your cells. And so when I went through chemo, I did not know what I know now. I just want to say I do not know what I know now. I do not eat during chemo. I fast during immunotherapy. I didn't know this then, and I learned that actually through a client that I was working with, my co-founder Helene. She fasted during chemo, and I asked, why? And she said it mitigated the side effects. And why does it do that? It protects your cells as well. It protects your good cells and kills the bad cells when you fast. And that's what you want when you're doing chemo. You want to get those, kill the cells as much as possible, but you want to also keep the good cells. You don't want all the good cells to go. So if your body is just in that state of healing cancer through this, the chemotherapy, it's best to not eat so your body can just focus on healing and instead of digesting. So there I am, no fear. And at the same time, I was also using essential oils. I still am working for this company where I was talking about, holistic living and non-toxic living and what's in our food and what's in our cleaning products and what's in our hair care products. And, it's a whole lifestyle. I mean, it's not just about food. It's about everything detoxifying, getting everything out and just, fighting cancer on a million different levels, not just one level. And that's an example. I mean, when I was having lunch and dinner, I had like a whole regimen of also supplements I was taking, and I still take supplements. It was changed since then, but I still love my oils, and I still use a lot of the products that I was promoting at that time. And so, here are some more examples of some of the meals I was having around that time. I don't eat as many eggs, to be honest, anymore. But beans and lentils and tempeh and tofu and, do I eat meat? I mean, sometimes, once in a blue moon, but I don't eat a lot because it doesn't really, it doesn't, I don't have a craving for it actually anymore. I don't have a craving for it. And then, so after my breast cancer, I had a brain tumor. And then after that, I had brain cancer. So I think this was, I'm trying to think. But what I know is that my oncologist told me that if I was eating sugar, I would have been dead. The fact that I haven't had sugar and I still, and the fact, and I still had these metastases and I was so healthy. I mean, forget it. There would have been no chance, but I fought it like a champ because I kept doing it. I kept doing it. And I'm so blessed, I'm so blessed. My friends took care of me at this time, and here they made me some. I just want to show you the food again, and people think, oh my God, white rice. Well, I really like white rice. And you know what? If that's going to be the thing that takes me over the edge, let it be taking. This is not a food prison. This is not a food prison. It just means you don't eat bread, processed foods or pastas. But you can still enjoy the grains. You can still enjoy the quinoa and the amaranth and the oatmeal. You can still have a lovely palate because a lot of people are scared. They're like, oh no, I can't give it up. I can't give it up. But yes, you can. And then you will feel so much better in the long run. You'll feel so good about yourself and you won't miss it. I don't miss it. I don't ever look at those kind of products now, like donuts. And I'm not like, oh, I want a donut. No, no, I don't care. I have no cravings, absolutely none. But you got to get it out of your system. And that's what I started. I started Breast Cancer Goddess to really help women get all this toxic stuff out of their system. I mean, that's me after brain tumor. I'm standing on my head, who does that? And I would go around to these events like the Susan Komen event, and they would be serving like donuts and not donuts, maybe like muffins, like sugary muffins and bags of candy. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, how does this make any sense for healing cancer? How does it make any sense at all? And I considered myself like a breast cancer goddess superhero. And I think some of you have maybe seen my video of when I ran around and I was saying, don't eat this and don't eat that. And, showing my community. Here, let me go back to this. Okay. And okay, let's go to this part. And you're like, oh my gosh, why did I get so thin? Why did I get so thin? Okay, so in 2023, I was diagnosed with a brain cancer that took over the folds. So I had the brain tumor and then I had the brain cancer. So you're like, okay, trying to find the timeline here. So the brain cancer took over the folds of my brain. It's called leptomeningeal disease, where the cancer gets in the folds. It's like the cancer no one ever wants to get because the prognosis is 3 to 6 months to live, and most people don't make it. Okay, so Western medicine didn't really have a good solution for me at that point. And I had done the Western approach. I had done the chemo. I did the surgeries. I was being a good girl. I mean, I still did all my holistic stuff and I still ate the way I ate, but I was pretty compliant. But at this point, I stopped being compliant because if you didn't have a good solution for me, well, then heck, I wasn't going to follow your not good solution. So I ended up calling a friend who's a naturopathic doctor. And I was like, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know. I was crying. It was a mess. And she just said, this is what you do. You just drink green juice. That's all you do. You just drink green juice. That's all you do. Morning, night, whatever. Morning, day, night. Green juice all day long. Green juice. And that's what I did. I did that for the first 30 days. Okay. So I did that. I documented every day of my journey, which I'm turning into a documentary so you guys can learn more. But it was honestly the most powerful experience of my life. It brought me very, very close to my higher power. Some may call it God. I call it God, the goddess, whatever is that higher power for you. And food, I didn't miss food because I was in the spiritual plane. I felt like a deity. I mean, of course, the first week, 2 weeks were hard, but then it became much easier to get through a day and not eat. And then I'm going to see what's next here. Yeah. Why fasting? Why did she say fasting? All right. So fasting allows your body to focus on killing cancer cells. And there's different kinds of fasting, but I did only green juice for the first 30 days. Then I followed with another 37 days with coconut oil, broth, seeds, and green juice. And the reason, guys, this is one of the main points I want to say. The reason why I was able to do this was because of my time in recovery, not eating flour and sugar, not eating in between meals. So my body was already primed for the big leagues. It's like training for the marathons, and then you break out the big guns when you're ready to break out the big guns. And I'm not saying all of you are going to have to break out the big guns. God forbid. I hope not. I hope you don't have brain cancer or a metastasized cancer. But if you do, this is the time to start training. This is the time to ensure that you can live a long life and be faced with any kind of metastatic cancer, and kill it and destroy it. That's what we want to do. And then you want to put yourself into autophagy. And autophagy is a cellular process whereby the body breaks down and recycles its own damaged or unnecessary components. It's a natural and essential function that plays a crucial role in maintaining cellular health and survival. So when you put yourself in this fasting state, your body starts to kill the cancer cells. So my body was, after 67 days, I mean, it was primed for when I ended up going back to the hospital because I was so thin. So, you have to, don't follow my direction. Don't necessarily do 67 days. I went extreme. I went extreme because I really wanted to heal. I wanted to be alive. I didn't want to die. But the problem was my body started eating away at my muscles. I started just losing so much weight, and I've learned more about how to properly fast so you don't go so thin. But I went so thin that I ended up back in the hospital, and I was put on hospice because I was on my deathbed. So you don't want to fast to die. No, you want to fast to live. But hey, hindsight's 2020. At the time, this is what it was. And so when I got to the hospital and put on my deathbed, the oncologist just rolled the dice. Really, Dr. Wolf. I love Dr. Wolf. We all love Dr. Wolf. And Dr. Wolf just rolled the dice, and she was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And she gave me a drug called NR2. It's a kind of a newer drug. And you know what? Because my body was so ready for anything at that point. My body was just so ready after all those days of fasting that the minute they put that drug into my body, and that's why I'm such a big fan of the Eastern Western connection, because just doing the fasting would have killed me. But when they put that magic juice in me, the NR2, the magic juice, it just saved my life. I just started getting better and better. And every day, I just got better. I mean, sure, in the beginning, I couldn't walk. I couldn't eat. I had a nurse. I had a nurse to stay with me and help me with my kids, who made me meals. I had to go to rehab and learn how to open a cabinet again. I mean, I was destroyed, but I slowly came back to life. And this was last February. That was an amazing, recovery, that here I am on a trip with my kid and my mom. This is on Valentine's Day. This is exactly last year. And I lost all my hair doing the infusion, the NR2, and I had saved my hair with the chemotherapy, doing the cold cap. And now I'm doing a reverse cold cap because I'm still doing NR2. I still fast during infusions. I just actually fasted. I had an infusion on Friday, and I fasted Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I broke my fast last night. And so this is day 2 after my fast. And I ended up going to India 2.5 weeks ago. Not 2.5 weeks ago, a month ago. And I was there for 2.5 weeks, and I went to an Ayurvedic hospital. And you know what? What they did with food is exactly what I do with food. Although some modifications, as I said before, nothing raw. and we don't mix fruit with our meals, our hot meals, unless we put the fruit inside of the hot meal. Like if you make a porridge or something, put the fruit inside the porridge. And if you are going to have fruit, have it 2 hours after you eat a hot meal. And my digestion is so great right now. I mean, I used to have, I know this is like TMI, I used to have a lot of like gas that I didn't want to have. And I don't have that anymore. I don't have it because your body produces gas when it's trying to digest. And raw foods are very hard to digest. And I know there's raw food cancer people or whatever, but according to Ayurveda, which is a 5,000-year-old tradition, it is not optimal for the body to be digesting at that rate. And so Ayurveda, same thing as what I'm doing in recovery in my 12-step program, 3 meals a day, and occasional fasting by not eating in between meals. Ayurveda is not as extreme as what I'm doing in addiction program, but it's the same basis. And in Ayurveda, I have let go of also cheese and yogurt, and I cook my fruit now. And so, yes, I'm going to stop sharing. So now I'd love to open it up to questions about anything, really. Honestly, you can just unmute, and I'd love to hear, your questions about my recovery, or about what I eat, or any questions about how to starve cancer, because this really works. And I'm just another person out there, who's been successful with cancer. I don't claim to have all the answers or anything like that. I'm just here to share my experience, strength, and hope with you guys.
What's your green juice recipe?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I don't have a recipe per se. She just told me to just juice greens. And I don't really do recipes. I just kind of willy-nilly do it. I just got a juicer, and I just got organic greens, and my naturopath would never support me ever going out and getting juices from if I didn't make it, but I'm not as extreme as my naturopath. And so I did go out and get I would just go to like a place, and they would have like a green juice right down the street from me, and it was all kale and celery and not fun juices, just the green juice. And you learn to love it, you learn to like it, you learn, because your body is just sucking it in and healing. You just like feel the healing. Great question. Any more questions?
Now that you're not doing the strictly are you still doing strictly green juice, or do you add anything like lemon or any other types of like antioxidant things to your juices?
Yeah, I still do green juice when I'm fasting. And I don't think lemon was an issue. Lemon does not spark sugar. It does, from what I know. It was it seemed, I think that was okay. It was more like the carrots and apple and the blueberries, even though those are amazing antioxidants. It's just when you're in that, if you want to stay in that like ketosis mode, and you just want to starve the body of sugar, you just try to eliminate all the sugar. But I don't. That's a good question. I wonder if I don't think the sugar is in the lemon. I don't think so. But turmeric and ginger, those are all really good things to add to your juices, because those are cancer killers.
Vera?
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi. So, as you know, I was a fruitarian, and I can't seem to, get myself off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so so the big question that I have is the fructose, which we know fruit.
Mhm.
Is fructose, I mean, is that like, I mean, it is that kind of ish okay with, I know Ayurveda is more cooked,
Yeah.
and I understand that part of vegetables, but it's the fruit. So when you say processed sugar, processed, does that include fruit?
No, no, it doesn't. In recovery, we eat fruit. In Ayurveda, we eat fruit, but we don't eat raw fruit with our hot meals. It's usually like 2 hours later.
Yeah, so don't combine.
Right, right. Don't combine. I think again for digestion purposes.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're gonna eat fruit, just eat fruit by itself, or put it in, your hot oatmeal, or just mix it together with in hot apples. Mix it with your oatmeal, and it's really
Right.
lovely. Actually, it's really, really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
Digestion. Yeah.
I had yours with the dates and the,
Yes.
yeah. And so, but anyway, but there's some controversy over, people, us girls that are, on this journey,
Yeah.
fructose,
Right.
so fructose, where they're saying you shouldn't have fructose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But so there is a difference between like stevia and,
Yeah. I mean,
right.
the goal is to get off of the sweet taste. I mean, that's the problem, is that we have this like addiction to that sweet taste, and then sometimes when you eat a fruit, you can't get that sweet taste anymore. But if you
Right.
eliminate all that synthetic stuff, when you do eat fruit again, it can be really magical and taste really sweet. I'm teaching
Yeah.
my daughter that. I'm like, get off of the honey and the maple syrup, even though it's a quote unquote okay sugars, I guess. It's still a sugar. It's still a processed sugar. It's not from God. It's not from the land. Thank you for listening to this digital memoir regarding my journey through 4 cancers. I would love for you to support me by going to Substack at The Cancer Goddess and becoming a paid subscriber. Paid subscribers are the VIP, and they get extra bonus, awesome information that I'll be sending to you. You can also support us by going to breastcancergoddess.org and submitting a donation. No matter how big or small, everything helps. Assuming all goes well with our 501c3 that we filed, all donations will be tax exempt. So please, thank you for your support. Thank you for helping me keep doing this.